Today marks the winter solstice, that time in the northern hemisphere when the tilt of the planet away from the sun is most pronounced. It's the longest night of the year. Today marks the first true day of winter. Now, I know many of you aren't really fond of winter. The cold makes us uncomfortable. It reminds us of our vulnerability. And I suppose hypothermia is a real risk if we fail to find shelter. And winter is so much work. It requires us to bundle up, to keep track of our hats and our gloves, to button up, to zip up, to lace up, to wrap up our scarves. And anyone with small children knows it requires 10 times that much more work. And then they have to use the bathroom. Ice and snow threaten our very safety, making sidewalks and roads treacherous. Snowstorms threaten our plans. We are literally bound up in protecting ourselves from this season. And the start of winter marks the holiday season, the holy day season. I think of winter solstice as holy because as things holy should, it connects us. It reminds us of the true and abiding nature of the universe. The night sky, as our reading suggests, has elemental elegance. That elegance is waiting like Orion on the horizon, requiring only that you look up and pause. If you are a person that feels nothing but joy in this season, consider yourself blessed. May your joy endure. For others, this time of year is fraught with invisible hazards. The prolonged darkness may leave us feeling less than. Seasonal affective disorder for some results in a cloud of gloominess that is difficult, if not impossible, to escape. May we find solace. For others, this time of year leaves us struggling with past losses. We're reminded of those who are no longer with us, no longer at the table. People we love who have passed on or moved on, a parent, a child, siblings, a lover, friends. May we find comfort. For some, there might be people at the table that we'd rather not spend time with. You can't choose your family, right? May we find patience. Maybe you're struggling with your marriage or suffering with separation. May we find peace. Even new families interject their own stress, the new traditions of your in-laws. Wait, what do you mean you don't open your gifts on Christmas Eve? We do that. May we remain open. Mental illness, loneliness, sleeplessness may overshadow our days. May we find healing. Honestly, no one is immune to life's difficulties. I keep a quote on the wall of my office to remind me of all we have in common in this regard. I found it in, it's sort of trite, but Life's Little Instruction Book. It's by H. Jackson Brown. I keep it there to remind me of all the good that comes when we see ourselves and each other as whole and complex people. It reads, "Everyone you meet is afraid of something, loves something, and has lost something." Everyone you meet loves something and has lost something, is afraid of something. I find the afraid and lost to be the flip side, the darker side of this time of year. I want to pay attention to that because what causes us pain can serve as an important reminder about what is precious to us. Our relationships, our traditions, our own emotional and mental well-being. Darkness. Do you ever take the garbage out or go to the garage or out for some reason at night into the darkness? Have you stepped out and realized you couldn't see at all? Have you stepped out, perhaps on your way to school in the morning? This time of year it's still dark, or work. You leave in the dark and maybe come home in the dark. Darkness all around is momentarily disorienting. On our farm, we have a handful of chickens yet. As part of the rhythm of our days, we close up the hen house at night. It is the least favorite of the chores. Our rhythm and the rhythm of the earth are one and the same, but the sun goes down by 5 p.m. now. So when I step out the back door to walk to the hen house, it's dark, and I can tell when I'm afraid because my senses are heightened, and any little noise startles me. It's a different place than it is in the day. It takes time for the eyes to adjust, to lose one's fear. I have to have a little courage to overcome the deep down, deep brain fear of the dark. This time of year invites us to do that. Well, I guess it actually requires us to do that. Having courage in the darkness might offer you gifts of eggs or insight. Although not easy, a pause in the darkness can offer us, call us to look inside ourselves. The darkness offers, as our meditation suggests, a horizon further than you can see. On that unseen horizon is your imagination, wonder, and reflection. Going there, we may be fearful of the unknown and the unknowable. In that place we can't see, where we can't know. We can only imagine, and sometimes that's a very dark thing. We imagine what can hurt us. We imagine what might happen. The tilt of the planet, the darkness, pulls us into the truth of our lives and our fears and of our connectedness to the truth of our lives in spite of all we take for granted. For all that we're able to ignore, it remains. The darkness and the stars, vast and waiting, a horizon further than you can see. But this darkness holds a promise too, a pregnant promise where you can imagine what your life might be, where you can imagine all that you are. When I was a girl, I lived in Minnesota. The neighborhood skating rink was at the edge of my front yard. The local fire department would flood the rink when the ground was frozen, and we in the neighborhood would use the rink for skating. After the snow, we kids would take our snow shovels and clear the rink. We were far more interested in doing this on our ice than clearing the driveways and sidewalks for our parents. We would don our skates and skate with the shovels, clearing the ice in straight lines like human snowplows. The best times on the ice were at night. I would wait by the window. The boys would play hockey, and there was not room on the rink for anything else. I avoided being hit with the puck or slammed into a snowbank. I would watch until they were gone. Then I would pull on long underwear if it was really cold, my hat, my warmest coat, and I would lace up my skates. I'd lace them up tight to support my ankles. It made skating smoother. You could take advantage of the connection of your blades and your boots and your ankles. Firm. I would wobble walk down to the rink and take a single step glide into the magical dark. It was a world of my own. Alone on crisp starlit nights, I could hear the hard metal edge of my skates on the ice while bewitched by the array of stars blanketing across the sky, and my heart would ache. My imagination was as wide as the sky. I was ageless, not trapped by my own fears or the limitations of my 11-year-old circumstance. I was free and present. I was a child of this universe. I belonged, and this world was mine. My everyday felt hard. My parents were careening towards a divorce. The tension between them created tensions between my siblings and myself. I didn't know how to move through this. We didn't know how to move through it together. My own looming adolescence was already challenging who I thought I was and making me fearful of who I might become. I felt isolated, but when I stepped out into the ice, all this fell away. Me and the stars, the cold, my own strong and capable body, and my blades. And I knew then that I was more than these difficult transitions. I was grounded. I could imagine in the darkness all that life might be. I was whole and I was enough. Imagine if I had known all the joy I would yet encounter. Imagine if I could just glimpse into the great loves of my life. My triumphs. I would have been so pleased and so amazed. What if I could have seen myself now here with you? The darkness in the holidays can bring up for us struggles. Difficult memories are, after all, reminders of loss. Can we sit with them for a while in the darkness? Let our memories wrap around us like a blanket. Pleasant or difficult, these memories make us who we are. Living means we know pain and joy. When we recognize the transformative power of our losses and fears, we gain the ability to offer true compassion and companionship. Let me tell you that tending to yourself is tending to the good of the world. Tending to yourself is tending to the good of the world. Imagine believing in your own light enough to let it shine, to illuminate for others their own bright being. Imagine our lights together in this room, in this community, adding each to the whole, shining bright in the darkness of our uncertain future. Be confident that we have something to offer. For years, my husband and I and our children put more energy into celebrating the solstice than Christmas. My daughters will still say it was the most important event of the winter season for them. We would clean our house from top to bottom just once a year. Really, just once a year. Because there would be so many people at our house that they would occupy nearly every room. We lit the house with candles and Christmas lights, and the place was transformed into something magical. Then they would come, car after car, on the winter solstice. Children, parents, teenagers, people with graying hair and less sturdy steps. Sometimes there was more than 100 people. They would come into the driveway where my husband had plowed a makeshift parking lot. The path to the pasture was lined with ice luminaries. These guests would bring their food offerings into the kitchen, and we'd make room on every counter and every table. Then we would each grab an unlit candle, one by one and two by two. We'd take the short walk to the pasture, and there was the bonfire. It was blazing, throwing up sparks into the night sky, and we would begin a ceremony. One year it was well below zero, and I worried that people would not come. When I saw the cars one after another as they drove up the gravel road to our place, I was thrilled. When we walked to the fire, we huddled together. We formed a circle around the bonfire as the minister began our solstice service. He said, "Turning out, we are enveloped by the darkness, swallowed in the cold feeling, both the elation of the universe's vastness and the isolation of our own smallness. In our circle around the fire, we all turned outward." Then he said, "Turning in again, we see the faces that are with us on our journey through life. The people standing here, as well as the faces of memories from those who are with us no more, all join in this firelight, giving comfort and strength as we prepare for another year." As we turned inward toward one another, we were reminded of each other's inherent beauty. I saw the wonder of the community, the warmth offered and received. Whether in community or alone with a single candle, let us leave time in the coming days to embrace the darkness, to acknowledge, to imagine, to seek clarity. Everyone you meet is afraid of something, loves something, and has lost something. Pause, recognizing how without the darkness, pain, and sorrow, we would not have the contrast needed to recognize the light. Pause. Then, let us turn slowly back to the dizzying light and Christmas music and gift wrap and rich food, and remember to look into each beautiful shining face in your company. And know that it is in the winter solstice that the seeds of summer are sown. May it be so.